brilliant people. So today I want to talk to you about the difference between creativity and co-creativity. Because one of the things I talk about a lot is mutually expansive exchange. And one of the ways that we create mutually expansive exchange, or it really sort of goes hand in hand with it, is learning not just to create our life like from ourselves and our own energy and our own efforts, but finding people who, our dreams, our visions are sufficiently aligned with and who can operate interdependently enough that we can co-create with them. So when we are doing something independently by ourselves, that's our creation. When we are doing something with somebody else, and we're doing it together in an aligned way, that's a co-creation. And of course, in many ways we're always co-creating, whether we realize it or not, because we're co-creating with the universe, if not with other people. Anyway, so today I thought I would talk about the 5 differences between creation and co-creation. So the first difference, and it's a big one, is that when we are co-creating, we can't control it all. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of us might get stuck in creating and never really truly realize the deep joy of co-creating, because when someone else is there in the mix, obviously they're doing part of it and we can't control what they're doing. We just have to trust, I guess. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So we can't control it all because it's not just up to us. We're co-creating, in the same way as, you can't control the universe. Well, you can't control who someone else truly is or what they're doing. And the truth is you don't want to control them, because if you do control them, then you're going to end up doing things codependently with them instead of interdependently, and that's a whole another thing. So anyway, the first thing is you can't control it all, so you have to be willing to give up some control. And for some people that can be a bit scary, but I suppose what makes it a little bit less scary is the second difference, which is about because we can't control it, we have to operate from trust. Now, in a previous video, I have talked about the 3 different levels of trust, so you might want to go back and watch that one. And the 3 levels, very quickly, are operational trust, just doing what you say you're going to do. Shadow trust, which is really, excuse the French, but knowing the difference between your shit and your shiny. So knowing the difference between your issues and who you really are. And so when you know the difference between your issues and who you really are, then you can, the agreement you're making with yourself there really is that you are, you're going to do your best to live from who you really are and deal with your stuff. But when you have that agreement to connect to who you really are, or to connect to who someone really is, but deal with the stuff appropriately, that enables real intimacy in the relationship. And then the third level of trust is what we call brilliant trust, where you're just living your life from who you really are. Now, when you are co-creating, the level of expansion you can experience is pretty much directly proportional to which level you're on. Which level of trust you can operate from. Like, you cannot co-create with someone at all unless you can rely on them, unless they will do what they say they're going to do. So unless you've got at least operational trust there, you're not going anywhere. If you've got shadow trust there, that means that there's going to be a lot less drama in the space. That's really good. That makes it a lot easier. And of course, the real joy comes from when you're co-creating with someone, when you're both operating from brilliant trust, because at that point, you're both operating in such a way that your co-creation is also about fully expressing who you both really are. And that's really cool. But, you know, and then the third thing is, of course, when you are just creating by yourself, you know, so you only just have to trust yourself. You only, you know, you're doing it all yourself. But when you're co-creating, you still have to do stuff. You have to do your part, but that's it, just your part. You know, you have to focus on just your part, and the trust comes in. You have to trust the person that you're, or people that you're co-creating with, to do their part. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of cool because, you know, if you can work, you know, obviously it works really best where each, you know, all the things that need to be done are getting done, but the people are getting to do more of the things that they personally really get a kick out of. So in some ways, when you just focus on doing your part, well, that can feel easier because you don't have to do it all. So that's cool. But the fourth difference is you then have to not do their part. And the problem is if you're used to creating, and if you're used to trying to do it all, or taking too much responsibility, or maybe if you're a little bit of a rescuer, or you're in the habit of taking on too much responsibility, without realizing it, you might end up doing some of their part. You know, it's like, think of friendship. Like if a friendship is a healthy friendship is a co-creation. You have to do your part. You have to be a good friend. You have to, you know, offer support, you know, have their back, that kind of stuff. But you can't do their part. They have to do their part as being a good friend. You can't do that for them. Like if they don't have your back, you can't have your own back and still consider them as good a friend as you are being. But you have to be a good friend, but then you have to let them be a good friend as well, which sometimes means asking for help, or, you know, being vulnerable, you know, whatever it takes. You have to let them do their bit, because if you don't, well, you're going to miss out on a lot of the joys of the co-creation. And which brings me to the last thing, which number 5, the fifth difference between creation and co-creation is you have to be willing to upgrade your vision. Now, what do I mean by that? Like when you're creating, it is just your vision. Now, when you're co-creating, because the other person has their input, has their part to play, it means that you can potentially have a bigger vision. It's not about them helping you with your vision. It's about co-creating something bigger, more expansive. That's why we talk about mutual expansion. But that means that you need to be willing to upgrade your vision. So that means you have to know when any, you know, changes that the other person wants to make, that it is actually still taking you in the direction you want to go, except that it's going to take you further. But it's not actually going to take you off track into something that's more about, you know, something that's all their own, and it's not necessarily anything to do with your vision. So yeah, that is one of the major keys, and that is probably, of all the things that I've mentioned, that's, you know, the others can feel scary, but this is the one that can take an upgrade in your own skills, is to learn when changes to the vision are genuine upgrades, and when they're just, you know, they might sound fun, but they're actually taking you off track. Anyway, there you are. There's the 5 differences between creation and co-creation. You can't control it all. You've got to operate from trust. You've got to do your part. You've got to not do their part. And you need to be willing to upgrade your vision, so to enable that mutual expansion. And of course, if you do that, you will realize more of your brilliance, which will make it easier to remember that you're brilliant.